I was going. I was going for this email, and then as a matter of fact, and once again, David Schultz, who's never had to shoot anybody in his line of work. But Brian sent me this actually 3 weeks ago, and I had saved it because I knew we were going to have Dr. D on the program. And Brian says, I'm happier than a pig in shit to discover your politics match my own exactly. I rarely laugh out loud anymore listening to or watching, let alone reading anything. And I have a great fucking sense of humor. So thank you for resetting my broken funny bone with your commentaries. Okay, so when I was a kid, I never really believed that pro wrestling was real, but I was always a cynic. Never believed in Santa Claus. No magic in my life growing up. Very sad. But one thing that I learned was you don't call pro wrestling fake. John Stossel getting the shit slapped out of his scrawny ass taught me that. I've always hated that cunt, but he taught me an important lesson. So, Brian, just for you and your recently repaired broken funny bone, we are going to bring you today the man responsible for slapping that scrawny cunt. And boy, and I popped when I saw it too, because we were down in Dallas. I'll tell this before we go to the tape. We were down in Dallas working for World Class when that initial buildup, right, for WrestleMania was happening, and also the buildup for the 2020 piece. It all happened in March of that year, right? And we had heard that Mansfield had exposed business. And we had heard, you know, that what they were going to do, to the point where I think it was probably the week before it aired on 2020, because they plugged it for a couple weeks. I don't know, well, you probably weren't even barely alive then, but Ken Mantell, the booker in World Class, had come in and told all of us, okay, guys, just keep it. There's going to be an expose on TV, so keep it that only one or two, no more than one or two phase high spots. Meaning, you know, don't do anything intricate that people have time to see through or that looks choreographed or whatever. Just like do one tackle hip toss or whatever. Well, we're working with the Fantastics. And if I do say so myself, our shit looked better even when we were doing 8-phase high spots than the rest of the guys doing 2-phase high spots. So we continued to do our matches and nobody ever said anything because they were tearing the house down. However, that's an example of one way that one of the territories, we were all shitting over this thing. What were they going to say? How bad was this going to be? Whatever the fuck, right? How bad's it going to hurt business? But I didn't know, or at least don't recall hearing until I actually saw it, that Schultz slapped the piss out of Stossel for getting up in his face. And I stood up in my apartment watching it on tape because we were at a show somewhere. I taped it. I'm like 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, yo, goddamn Jesus Christ. I fucking popped big time. I think that's the last big pop I think I ever popped over a wrestler doing something. But anyway.
What did Dennis say?
Well, he wasn't in my goddamn house at 3 o'clock in the morning.
No, but the next day, I mean, Dennis had teamed up with Schultz. He knew him better than anyone.
You meant, he said, why don't you sit down, Corny? I'm trying to watch the show. No, I mean, we were all hooting about it. And of course, Dennis, as we'll talk about with David, they were partners for so long. And David saved his life one time. We'll talk about that too. He knows David and how he can be. And a lot of people now, they look at it with, how dare he assaulted that man, and, you know, blah, blah, blah. Number one, I don't believe that, like, Vader shouldn't have snatched the guy in Kuwait because, for one thing, it's Kuwait. I wasn't in favor of beating up reporters or journalists or TV interviewers or whatever, even if they were trying to get into the business. I've seen Lawler sit down and have great conversations with journalists that were trying to ask him screwy questions, and he was getting around it. And that's fine. But when this, in the middle of Madison Square Garden on show night, and all the boys standing around, and this fucking little Weasley 5'6", you know, slick-haired fucking Yankee, I can see David Schultz looking at him now, gets in your face and says, I think you're a fake, or I think your business is a fake, what's going to happen? And why wouldn't Stossel know if he was a normal human being what's going to happen? I'm going to tell this fucking guy, twice my size, looking at me like he wants to eat me anyway, in front of his coworkers and friends at his job in the biggest arena in the world, that he's a fake on TV, on camera. Don't ask the question if you don't want the answer, right? And he got the answer. Anyway, so I'm not advocating for brutality to reporters. I'm also advocating for reporters not to be smart-ass little shits that call people phony to their face.